Good morning and welcome to the 2014 Ashoka U Exchange. It's an absolute pleasure to see you all here. I'm Bita Ansari, Ashoka U's Exchange Director, and I want to welcome you all. We put together 600 people from 150 colleges and universities representing 24 countries at the biggest exchange to date. The exchange brings together university staff, faculty, university administrators, students, as well as community partners and Ashoka fellows for a sharing of best practices and dialogues for social innovation in higher education. We've put together an action-packed 3 days for you. There are over 50 sessions to choose from, with over 100 speakers in each one. Today and tomorrow, we'll be here at the Omni Hotel. On Saturday, we'll be providing shuttles from the Omni lobby to take you over to Brown University. Once you arrive on campus, you'll be greeted by a team of volunteers to help take you to your next session. In the afternoon on Saturday, we'll bring you back to the Omni for a closing dinner, a president's panel, and the closing Changemaker Campus designation ceremony. To help you navigate the program, we've put together To help you navigate these 3 days, we've put together a program in your goodie bag. If you don't have one, feel free to grab one at the registration desk just around the corner. We're also providing breakfast, as you may have noticed, today, tomorrow, and Saturday morning here at the Omni Library. So before jumping down and getting on a shuttle Saturday, feel free to come down a little early and grab a bite to eat. You can also follow the conversation online with the the Exchange 2014 hashtag, as well as the Ashoka, Ashoka U, and Brown University accounts, Twitter accounts. I want to end today by thanking each and every one of you. You are what makes the Exchange possible and an integral part of our community here with Ashoka U and at Ashoka. Over 70% of the content that's featured this weekend is actually sourced by you. And I want to end with a final thank you to our sponsors, specifically Western Union, Photo Wings, the Cordis Family Foundation, Left Brain, Right Brain Productions, Ask Big Questions, Indiegogo, and our Changemaker campuses, Marquette University, Babson College, Duke University, Brigham Young, Middlebury College, University of Northampton, and Tecnológico de Monterrey Campus Guadalajara. Now please join me in welcoming Roger Nozaki, Assistant Dean for Community and Global Engagement and Director of the Swire Center for Public Service at Brown.
Good morning. It's so great to have you all here. The Ashoka U and Brown teams have been working so hard over the past year to make this all happen. So I just wanted to start by asking you to join me in thanking them for their tremendous work over the past year. Since many of you are visiting our lovely little state, possibly for the first time, I wanted to start with a welcome to Rhode Island. Most people know of Rhode Island as the smallest state in the Union. Some other facts you may not know. Rhode Island was the birthplace of religious tolerance founded by Roger Williams, chartered by the King of England in 1663 as a lively experiment in religious freedom and the separation of church and state. Rhode Island was the first colony to declare independence from England on May 4th, 1776, 2 months before the Declaration of Independence. Rhode Island was the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution at Samuel Slater's Mill, just up the road in Pawtucket. And today, Providence's tagline is the creative capital, reflecting the robust art and culture assets that we have here. And in Travel and Leisure's most recent poll of America's favorite cities, Providence ranked number 2 in restaurants, number 4 in cafes, and number 2 in attractiveness. So what better place for innovation? A legacy of independent thinking, creativity, good food, and good-looking people. What's been interesting for me to discover is how much Brown seems to reflect Rhode Island. Founded in 1764, Brown itself is about to celebrate its 250th anniversary with the tagline, Imagine. Many people know of our so-called new curriculum, which is now 40 years old, which requires students to be architects of their own education. But most people don't know that the legacy of educational innovation at Brown is much, much older. In fact, Brown's original charter in 1764 explicitly set forth an institution of liberal education that ensured the religious freedom of students. Francis Wayland, Brown's president from 1827 to 1855, established a new system of education with flexible elective degree programs. So in many ways, our curriculum is a translation of the innovative spirit of Rhode Island into the creativity and interdisciplinarity of Brown. This legacy is culminated in Brown's new strategic plan launched by President Paxson last fall. This plan includes a definition of the Brown approach, which I quote here. We are a community that celebrates intellectual curiosity, creativity, and individuality, appreciates the power of collaboration among individuals with different perspectives, backgrounds, and areas of expertise, and fosters research and education that strive to have positive influence on society. And you should all know that President Paxson has been personally committed to our shared agenda, and I'm so happy that you'll all hear from her this afternoon. But of course, not all is so rosy. Today's environment is full of challenges. Locally, among other things, we face the highest unemployment rate in the country, and we have a public education system which, like many in the country, struggles to prepare our children for the world in which we live. Globally, we face conflict and war, continued inequality, poverty, and the impacts of climate change. Innovation is more critical than ever, and education and universities, in my opinion, should be ground zero. That's why I returned to Brown nearly 9 years ago. I've always believed in the power of education to open life opportunities. I've also always had an acute sense of injustice in the world and our shared implication in that injustice. I knew that Brown was uniquely positioned for leadership at the intersection of education and social change. We had a bedrock foundation of student leadership and community relationships, but what we needed was a superstructure for institutional engagement. So we built a series of initiatives toward that end. We dove deep into the core institutional value of educational opportunity. We leveraged new resources like recent graduates and alumni and demonstrated concrete and measurable community impact. We engaged faculty directly in their core work of teaching and research. And we launched the Social Innovation Initiative, which has amplified the imagination and energy of students, faculty, and alumni. Building on what we learned, we proposed 2 institutional initiatives that have been integrated into Brown's new strategic plan. A university-wide undergraduate program in Engaged Scholarship, and the TriLab, an immersive and long-term structure bringing together faculty, community, and students around specific urgent social issues. You'll hear more about these initiatives in other sessions during the conference. What I think is most important to note is that this has become the university's work, not just the work of one center off to the side. It's now part of how the university pursues its core mission of education and knowledge generation. So what's happening at Brown is immensely exciting, but it's also clear that we have a critical window of opportunity for innovation and engagement in higher ed nationally and globally. What we're all working on here, in my view, relates directly to the issues our university leaders are focused on and looking for new ways to address. Public demands for increased transparency on the value of higher education, not unrelated to college costs. Generational change in faculty who increasingly see engagement as integral to their scholarship and seek out universities which support that work. New technology and research on high-impact educational practices which are driving educational innovation. And students' sense of urgency about social issues and increasingly sophisticated ways to work on the issues that they care about. I, of course, see community engagement and social innovation as a perfect way to address these dynamics. To take advantage of this historical moment and to make sure our work is embedded and sustained, we need to root our work in the core mission of higher education, demonstrating its quality, depth, and power in teaching and research. We have a great story to tell, and we can do a better job tapping the unique and powerful resources of universities for the goals that we all share. What do I see as these unique resources? I see our universities as deep wells of curiosity, hubs of knowledge generation, and vibrant communities of thinkers, doers, and leaders. And what do I think are the key ingredients for social innovation? Curiosity, knowledge, community, and collaboration. When I talk with students who want to change the world, I regularly talk about the need to combine a sense of urgency with endurance for the long haul, to combine deep understanding of what is with the ability to imagine what could be. What a great fit for higher education, a set of institutions created specifically to glean knowledge from what is and what was, to generate ideas and leadership for the future. We're so pleased to have you in our fair city and so proud to walk this journey with you. Welcome. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce someone who's been a tremendous friend, collaborator, advocator, pusher, leader, and idea generator. One of the two power women who got this all going, Executive Director of Ashoka University, Marina Kim.
Fantastic. Well, I am so delighted to be here and to see so many familiar faces, and even more excitingly, many new faces, which is a great sign in terms of some of the global growth, and I'll actually get into some of those statistics in a minute. But first, I just wanted to draw out a few of the elements of what Roger was mentioning. I think what Roger beautifully demonstrates with his narrative of how Brown University has approached their work with social innovation is that he starts with the roots and the traditions, not only of Brown and Brown's culture, but also of Providence and Rhode Island and the broader context in which the university fits. I think some of these are the absolute key elements when you think about your own institution. So I would love for all of you to think about, as Roger pulled out from the Brown example, what are the resources around you, whether it's the student resources, the faculty resources, the programmatic resources, and the opportunities that go along with that. As we think about the theme of the new scholar, and there has been some considerable debate about what this actually means in the planning and the building and the shaping of this entire event, what we came to was that actually there is no exact definition, but rather we wanted to frame it as a question and a framework for all of you to grapple with and make meaning out of and make sense of for your own institution. So when you think of the term scholar, and you think about the higher purpose of colleges, universities, and institutions of higher learning, really it's pulling on some of the key elements Roger emphasized, which is deep knowledge, knowledge creation, learning, questioning, the curiosity that goes along with that whole process of discovery and innovation. That's the original intent of scholarship, and I think that the true essence of it. Then when you think of the term new, you can think of new models, new approaches, new pedagogies, new partnerships, new leadership. I think there's so many different ways to reframe and challenge and give a new identity to old ideas, but give them new models to make them in the most positive way, the way to bring social impact to the world. So we encourage all of you to think about, what does the new scholar mean to you in your own institutional context? And how does it tie to the larger institutional mission, vision, identity, but also how does it tie to your specific and unique resources, organizational context, and the opportunities that are around you and in the near future and in the long future? So I just also want to pause and take a minute to reflect on where this idea of social innovation education started. And I wanted to specifically recognize a pioneer in the field, Professor Gregory Dees. In the mid-1990s, he created the first course on social innovation at Harvard Business School. He proceeded to build and spread these ideas at many other institutions, Stanford and then Duke, and the idea has spread all around the world since then. And so we owe a huge debt of gratitude to Greg Dees for being this true pioneer. And unfortunately, he's passed away, but his legacy lives on. And all of us are actually part of that legacy, because without him, I don't think we would all be here. We'll actually be doing a tribute to Greg Dees tomorrow, so you'll hear more about that then. But I just wanted to say that really all of this was started in the mid-1990s, and now just under 2 decades later, we've had huge and phenomenal growth. It started in the business schools, and it's moved out into the entire institution, across different disciplines, embedding into various disciplines. I know there's a mathematician in the audience, chemists, historians, social scientists, policy, really, you name it, there's an element of integration with social innovation and social values. So it's an exciting time for all of us. In terms of my own personal history, I started in the early 2000s as a student leader leading social innovation. Now we have the honor with the Ashoka U team to work with the 150 universities that are here represented at the Ashoka U Exchange. As Bita mentioned, it's the largest ever Ashoka U Exchange, and I would venture to guess it's actually the largest convening of the most universities ever to come together to discuss best practices in social innovation. So it really feels exciting. It's an exciting time, it's an exciting moment, and it's because of all of you. And so as you think about these opportunities and you think about the growth, all of it, it feels real, but is it? So what's interesting is that this question has been haunting us a little bit. It feels like there's something there. It feels like there's momentum. We think there is. Everyone we talk to says it's there, but is it? So that's where we look to data. And so as good researchers, we decided that we would work with our entire global network. And so in last summer, 2013, Ashoka U launched the first census in social innovation for higher education. So we had 239 institutional respondents, giving us a treasure trove of data, everything about all the programmatic elements, all the curricular elements, all the co-curricular elements, all the budget and staffing, everything you might want to know about to get a snapshot with real metrics behind them. So there's a lot of data. Just wanted to draw out a few of the key growth curves. So the first one is just looking at the growth over time. And this was capturing the specific dates of launch for courses and programs and centers and certificates. And so if you actually look, as you're probably not surprised to see, good, nice growth, steady growth in the 90s into the early 2000s, and it really becomes exponential in the mid to late 2000s. Another growth curve. This is specifically looking at growth outside of the United States and North America. So every single region, it varies, but every single rate is growth. Another snapshot looking at centers, competitions, and fellowships, growth, and then specifically focused on the curricular offerings, lots of growth. And you'll see that it's not just in single courses. I think we're at a point of sophistication and maturity that it's now course sequences and real curriculum development, not just one thing here, one thing there. So it's really an exciting time. And I don't think, I think the sophistication is there, the quality is there, the breadth is there, the depth is there. And what's really exciting is for so many years in the 90s and early 2000s and even a few years ago, it felt like every conversation was, what is social entrepreneurship? What, how do I apply it? And it still happens, but I will dare suggest that the real conversation is not what is social entrepreneurship and how does it relate to universities? It's actually, how do we do this and how do we do it with quality? How do we get it right? How do we teach this effectively? How do we measure effectively if there's learning happening? How do we build robust course sequences? How do we actually think about this in terms of quality and impact? So, growth is happening everywhere, extremely exciting. But there's also a few things that we need to be aware of, because I see that we're in the fork in a road. And so when you see the potential, if we harness this potential, I think there's potential to transform and be a transformative force within higher education. And so the opportunity is that you can really reframe how this teaching and research and application to social impact in the community happens, if it's done well and when it's done well. However, there are a few different vulnerabilities we have to be aware of as we go about this process, because growth that is unchecked can actually dilute quality, can actually be harmful. So I think we have to be very clear of the responsibility we have when we launch these programs and launch these initiatives, because we want to have the ultimate success and impact that is what we're designing it towards. So a few of the vulnerabilities. It all relates to institutionalization, because again, it's actually easy to start a single course. It's easy to start a student group. It's easy to start, one specific thing here and there. But if you actually think about impact, and I think this goes back to the example that Roger gave with Brown, the question is, can you embed this into the institution? Can you actually align this with larger values into an institutional mission? And does it make sense within the institutional context, not just to one faculty member, but to many faculty members, not just to the president, but to the entire leadership team, not just to the few students who are real advocates, but to a broader student body that actually has the opportunity to learn about how to apply whatever skills they have to achieve a social impact in the world and apply their knowledge for social impact in the world. And so some of the key vulnerabilities that also came out of the census are that, and I'll throw out one other one that won't surprise anyone, is that 52% of respondents said that funding was one of the #1 challenges to building and sustaining their programs. But one of the other specific findings was that only 9% of the programs that are currently in existence have long-term funding. It was close to 50% said that they only have year-to-year funding. So in a worst case scenario, let's look at everyone in the audience. Half of you, nearly half of you, have the potential to not be here next year if things don't go well. So I think there's, a lot of opportunity to think about the long term. Secondly, the coordinating body to really help build all these integrative structures to make the relevance not just for the business school and social innovation, but really across campus, across disciplines, and across faculty and staff and student leadership. So I think there's a real opportunity to think about that. And I will say that for the 0%, there are a lot that actually have sporadic and parts of the campus-wide coordinating structure, but I think people are holding themselves to a very high standard, and they really want to have a highly, highly effective one. And then only 14% have a campus-wide strategy for social innovation, and so I think there's a huge opportunity there. So all of us are really part of this huge movement, and so hopefully the data I showed you shows, on the one hand, there's this huge opportunity. We have never in the history of social innovation education had this much expansive growth, this much opportunity in terms of models to learn from, models to build from, leaders to learn from, leaders to collaborate with. I think examples of partnerships with community organizations that have gone well and maybe didn't go so well. But I think what we have around us, even in this room, is a treasure trove of learning, a treasure trove of opportunity, and a treasure trove of conversations that can help you find the most effective way that makes sense for your own institution. So as you think about the next few days of the exchange, you have an action-packed agenda, many, many different sessions you can go to. And just a little note, sometimes the best learning is not going to happen in the sessions at all. It's actually going to happen in the hallways. It's going to happen in the bathroom. It's going to happen in the food line, And so I think I encourage all of you to really look at everyone else here as a real resource. Whether it is someone who is fairly new, but extremely enthusiastic and open and asking great questions. I think there's huge value there. And then versus someone who's been around in this for over a decade and they're a little, they've had the battle scars and lots of lessons learned. But I think whoever you talk to, Whether it's someone from the US or someone from international, there's so much to learn from the diversity in this room and the experience in this room, the energy in this room, and I think just this attitude that we hope all of you will embrace this question of how can you do at your institution whatever makes the most sense for your own specific culture, your own specific values, but we really hope that we're counting on all of you to make sure that it's done with quality, that it's done with this idea of institutionalization, and that it's done with this idea of building for the long term. Not just for the institution, but really for the ultimate impact we're all trying to achieve, which is educating the next generation of leaders who will not only have the confidence and the skills to go out and do great things, but hopefully actually be able to solve some of these really important and pressing problems. And that will be of great service to everybody. So thank you for all that you're doing, and I really hope that the next few days will be inspiring and challenging and just a huge opportunity for you to feel that you are really part of a thriving global movement. Thank you.